Yo, what is up guys? Stale here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are well. If you're new here, smash the subscribe button, it really helps me out. And also, if you could smash the like button, it really does go a long way. So this past Saturday, Caleb Plant defended his IBF Super Middleweight title by stopping German contender Vincent Feigenboots in 10 rounds. The fight itself was a one-sided fight, as I predicted. I said in my thoughts before the fight on various streams that Vincent Feigenboots would make Caleb Plant look extremely good. You know, just stylistically, this fight really did favour Caleb Plant, and that's how it panned out. Plant was peppering him with a jab, going from body to head, pinging his head back with sharp right-hand counters, and letting go of some really good combinations. Caleb Plant really highlighted some of his best abilities, his punch placement, his hand speed, his combinations, etc. Plant looked good, and he did the job against a subpar opponent. So Plant did his job, and he looked good doing it. But just how good is Caleb Plant? That is the question that's being asked right now. And I've noticed a lot of people out there are starting to really take this guy serious. I've seen people out there actually say this man is the best fighter at 168 pounds. Now, I like Caleb Plant, I've got to say. Not so much his personality, but how he fights in the ring. If you look at the four champions, he is one of my favourite fighters to watch in that division. I would say he and David Benavidez are my go-to fighters to watch at 168. In terms of the world champions, I find those two guys the most exciting and entertaining, more so than Billy Joe and Callum Smith. But at the same time, I'm not ready to board the hype train for Caleb Plant. I still believe he needs to show us a lot more. And listen, certain fights will tell us how good he is. A lot of people now are talking about a fight between Caleb Plant and David Benavidez. Again, I've seen some people go as far to say that Caleb Plant would school David Benavidez. I'm not so sure. I'm really not so sure. I think that's a tremendous fight. And that's the fight, ideally, which should happen next. At 168, we've got four champions. And, you know, these guys are all kind of treading water right now. What we need from the 168 division is two unification fights. That is Benavidez versus Caleb Plant, and Billy Joe Saunders versus Callum Smith. These are the fights we need in the 168 pound weight class. But in regards to that potential fight between David Benavidez and Caleb Plant, for a while, basically since both of these guys have been relevant in the division, since people have been talking about that fight, I've always favoured David Benavidez to win that fight. Again, I'm not entirely sure, don't get me wrong, but David Benavidez to me just comes across that little bit more impressive as a fighter. Now, Caleb Plant has the better quote-unquote fundamentals. Technically, he's a better boxer, but David Benavidez brings some very good attributes to the table. First and foremost, he's a massive guy for the weight. He's a big dude. He's got extremely good hand speed, great punch output. He doesn't stop working. He's got underrated power with a lovely jab, and he applies constant pressure. You know, he really puts it on you and makes you work for 12 rounds. And that's my point in regards to this fight. Can Caleb Plant work for 12 rounds and keep David Benavidez at bay? I've got to say, I think Caleb Plant has respectable power, but does he hit hard enough to keep a monster like David Benavidez at bay? And can he actually box David Benavidez for 12 rounds, keeping up with that pace that Benavidez sets? I'm not entirely sure. Like I say, I see Caleb Plant as the better quote-unquote technical fighter, but boxing is not always about that. Sometimes pressure tells, and I've got a funny feeling in this fight between David Benavidez and Caleb Plant, I've got a funny feeling pressure's going to tell. Caleb Plant, while he's a very good boxer, he fights in a great rhythm, got a lovely jab, great counter-puncher. He does a lot of things well, but one thing I'm not convinced about with Caleb Plant is the gas tank. While following his career, I've only actually noticed him being made to work hard for two fights. That was Porky Medina, who was past his best, and also Jose Uzcategui. And in those fights, Caleb Plant was made to work hard, and he won these fights well, don't get it twisted. But look at the last few rounds of each fight. I felt it was noticeable that Caleb Plant was slowing down, and especially in the Uskatigi fight, he was slowing down to the extent where it almost looked like he was gassing, and he was taking some really, really hard shots. Benavidez is a much bigger physical proposition in comparison to Jose Uskatigi and Porky Medina, and on top of that, he's got far greater offense, like I say, great combination puncher, hand speed, power, constant aggression. I'm really not sold whether Caleb Plant can negate that for 12 rounds. Maybe he even gets stopped. But right now, I'm still feeling David Benavidez in that fight. I'm still leaning towards him to win the fight. But regardless, this fight really now is picking up some steam, and it needs to happen. I think both guys have looked fairly impressive in many fights. I like both guys' styles. It should gel for a really good fight. The boxer versus the pressure fighter. What's not to like? And both guys are in or around their primes. Maybe both guys can still get better, but hell of a fight, and it's one that really needs to happen. There's no excuse for the PBC not to make this fight. And listen, I'll tell you why. It's a great fight, but it's never going to be a super fight. There's no real need marinating this type of fight. It may as well just happen next. We don't want to see this fight marinated. Let's get it on. Let's get this fight official. Let's make it happen. Because when you marinate fights too long, people lose. We've seen that at 154 with the PBC. Jamel Charlo lost to Harrison in their first fight. Jarrett Hurd lost to J-Rock. Now J-Rock lost to Jason Rosario. They've been talking about unification fights in that division for a long time. But still, we have no undisputed champion. So, listen, strike while the iron's hot. Let's get this fight made. No need to wait. And as for Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, and their super middleweights, the same goes for them. If neither one of these guys can get a Canelo fight, there's no reason why Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith shouldn't fight each other. And if that fight doesn't happen next, providing neither guy gets Canelo, then I will be very unhappy and I will voice my opinion, because Eddie Hearn's out here throwing shade at other fighters for not taking unification fights, and rightly so, but what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Don't be a hypocrite, make this fight. So there we go. The 168 weight class has been kind of stagnant for quite some time, but right now we've got a couple of really good fights that could get made, and get made soon. I'm not a patient person. I don't want to wait for good fights. I want these fights to happen ASAP. I'm sick and tired of waiting. I'm sick and tired of marinating. Let's get this fight made. If I wanted to learn about marination, I'd look at some Ainsley Harriott videos, do you know what I mean? So yeah, let's get these fights done. But regardless, this past weekend, Caleb Plant looked very good. I thoroughly enjoy his style. Got a lovely rhythm. Extremely talented fighter. Yeah, there's a lot to like about Caleb Plant, but in a potential fight with David Benavidez, right now I still favour Benavidez. That could change in the future. I've changed my mind on fights before. I don't always have one set opinion on a fight and keep that. Sometimes when the fight gets closer, I'll change my opinion and, so forth. So there we go. Share your thoughts below. What did you guys make of Caleb Plant this weekend? And what do you make of a potential fight between David Benavidez and Caleb Plant? Who, in your opinion, wins that fight? Share your thoughts below. I'm intrigued. I actually did a poll on my channel, and the results are extremely close. It's almost a 50-50 fight. And again, they're the fights we need in boxing. And looking at that poll I did, that just goes to show how good this fight is. Considering people are so split on the outcome, that means it's a good fight in my book. So, like I say, no need to wait, no need to marinate, make this fight happen. Anyway, it's been your boy Delboy, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Again, if you could smash the like, it would be much appreciated. And if you're new here and you enjoyed the content, hit the subscribe button. Once again, it really does help me out and it goes a long way. But anyway, thanks for listening. Drop your thoughts below. Peace.